before we start the video, I'd like to ask you guys to please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video, as it helps the channel grow. So, let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking a little bit of time to spend a little time with me, your boy KT. Today, I will be updating my Chicago Bears schedule for the year of 2025, or for the season of 2025. I already did a video, like a partial video about this, but this is just the update to that previous video. Now that all the games have been confirmed for the 2025 NFL season, I'm going to go through all of them. There are 18 games on the schedule, so I'm going to try to keep this as quick as possible. Not going to go through wins and losses on the schedule, or if I do any other teams, not going to go through too many wins and losses. I may make a couple comments here and there, but this is just an overview on how the Bears schedule will be looking. So if you guys want to see more content like this on the channel, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit that notification bell because it helps the channel grow. Make sure you guys leave your comment in the comment section, and make sure you guys follow me on social media, because there's bound to be stuff about the NFL and the Chicago Bears all year. So thank you guys for watching. Let's get straight into the video. Alright, so in week 1, we will be taking on the Minnesota Vikings at Soldier Field on Monday Night Football. And this is the classic trap game for the Chicago Bears. The Minnesota Vikings are a lot better team than they look on paper. They're always competitive, and this will be the season opener, so this will be a true test for the Chicago Bears to open the season. Of course, this will probably be the first time we see J.J. McCarthy in an actual NFL game. He'll be making his first regular season start, but they got pieces to go with them. Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, TJ Hawkinson, that great offensive line in which they just added Ryan Kelly and Will Fries in the offseason. Plus, they still have a pretty good defense as well, going out and getting Jonathan Allen in the offseason as well. Plus, Jonathan Grenard is still there, and you got that great mind in both offense and defense with Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores. This game is the classic trap game, but I honestly think that the Bears will be ready. Ben Johnson loves going against teams like this that have great coaching staff, so he can prove that he's a better coach than them. This is why you signed him, so you can compete with these teams, and we're no slouch with talent on our team as well. But this will be a pretty difficult game to start the regular season, and this will be a continued theme throughout the video. But 7:15 is the start time. They'll be playing on Monday Night Football at Soldier Field. Should be fun to watch. Moving on to week 2, we get another interesting game in division when we take on the Detroit Lions in Detroit at 12 o'clock. This will not be a primetime game, but this should honestly be a primetime game as well. Ben Johnson will be making his return to Detroit, and that should be no shortage of just animosity, and this should really reinvigorate that rivalry, I guess, that Detroit fans really want with Chicago. Detroit is Detroit. They still got a pretty good team on their hands. Didn't do too much in the offseason. One move I really liked for them was Tate Ratledge in the second round, I think. But other than that, they didn't really add too much to their roster per se. This will be the revenge game for honestly both teams. If you think about it, will be in Detroit facing this team. It's never easy to face the Detroit Lions, but considering how we came so close to beating them on Thanksgiving, with a better coaching staff and some better coaching decisions, this could be a win for the Bears. And Ben Johnson would like to stick it to the Detroit Lions as well. But this game should carry a lot of emotion with it, and for a week 2 matchup, I don't think you can ask for a better one. You don't have to wait until week 15 to face the Detroit Lions. So we'll be facing the Detroit Lions in Detroit, 12 o'clock in week 2. So now we'll move on to week 3, in which we'll be taking on the Dallas Cowboys at 3:25 p.m. at Soldier Field. This will be the Matt Eberflus revenge game, as he joined Dallas in the offseason. Haven't played Dallas in a while. I haven't really seen them play Dallas in a while. Last time we played this Dallas Cowboys team was in 2022, in which they beat us. Before that, we blew them out at Soldier Field. But this will be a pretty interesting game on the schedule as well. We've seen guys like Jaquan Brisker and CeeDee Lamb go back and forth on Twitter or on Instagram, and guys like Jaquan Brisker on this team really want to stick it to the Cowboys. They just went out and signed Matt Eberflus in the offseason to be the defensive coordinator. So considering how the players feel on this team about Matt Eberflus, that could be considered a potential revenge game, and also a revenge game for Eberflus himself, as he was fired from the Chicago Bears mid-season. Dallas still has a pretty good team they're walking into the year with. They revamped their running back room, adding Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. They revamped their wide receiver room as well, going out and getting George Pickens. Still got CeeDee Lamb. They got Jonathan Mingo. Jalen Tolbert still there. Pretty good offensive line. They drafted Tyler Booker in the offseason. A little bit concerned about who's going to be the secondary pass rusher for next to Micah Parsons. This should be an interesting game as well. It will be on Fox at 3:25. Really, you're starting to see the theme with this season as the Bears are going to have a lot of games like this during the season. But Dallas is no easy win. Hopefully they can pick up a win in week 3, as that would be great, especially knowing what's coming up after the bye week in week 5. So hopefully the Bears can pick up a win in Dallas. And then we move on to week 4. We will be taking on the Las Vegas Raiders in week 4 at 3:25 p.m. We will be in Las Vegas. Quick side note, we will be taking on Dallas in week 3 at Soldier Field. So we will be on the road in week 4 to go to Las Vegas. And Las Vegas this might be one of the easiest games as part of the early schedule, as Las Vegas, while they made some moves in the offseason, they still have some questions at certain positions, but no game is ever a gimme. They went out and got Ashton Jeanty in the draft, and they drafted Jack Beck in the draft as well. Still got Brock Bowers, but this is clearly a kind of a rebuilding team. They're not really the strongest team in their own division, as they play in a really tough division. And there's some questions at quarterback. Geno Smith isn't getting any younger, and they don't really have much of a younger option to go with other than Aiden O'Connell. This should be one of the easiest games in the early schedule for the Chicago Bears. Again, this will be at 3:25 p.m. Again, this is the kind of theme the season is going to be taking. Not very excited about these games being so late on TV, as I really prefer the 12 o'clock games. But you really want to try to pick up a win in week 4 against Las Vegas before you go into the bye week. We'll get to that just in a second. So like I said in the previous segment, we will have a bye week in week 5, so we get the second straight year with a bye week early in the season. We got one in week 7 last year, and a common thing with this bye week, especially last year, as after we come out of the bye week in week 6, we will be taking on the Washington Commanders, and this will be a Monday Night Football game at 7:15 p.m. We will be in Washington for that game again. And if your PTSD just triggered, I apologize, but this is the second straight year we'll be facing Washington outside the bye week. And considering what happened last year, I would think the Bears would really want to stick it to this team, especially after the Hail Mary loss last year. Hopefully they can go ahead and get a win, and this, of course, this ongoing rivalry between Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels that the fans are trying to make happen. This will not be an easy win. The Washington Commanders came within a game of the Super Bowl, and they re-upped on talent as well. This will not be easy. Hopefully the Bears feel a certain type of way about what happened last year, and they will be focused. But the Washington Commanders in Washington are really hard to beat. We know we got to stop Jaden Daniels in that game. And we just got to play smart, man. Coming out these bye weeks in previous seasons, we just haven't been able to stay focused after the bye week. Hopefully that changes with Ben Johnson at the helm. But the Bears got to be focused, as that's a really tough game, and it doesn't really get much easier after Washington. So 7:15 p.m. on ABC, we will be taking on the Washington Commanders in week 6. And then we move on to one of the easier games in the late part of the schedule. In week 7, we will be taking on the New Orleans Saints at 12 o'clock in Chicago. This will start the trend of them playing at 12 o'clock finally, as their next games will be at 12 o'clock. But this New Orleans Saints game, just like the Raiders game, should probably be one of the easier games on the schedule. The New Orleans Saints are in the midst of a rebuild, at least I think they are. Quarterback, we know Derek Carr just retired. Their quarterback projected at this moment will be Tyler Shaw. Not very high on him. They're getting older as well. Alvin Kamara is getting older. I think Chris Olave wants to be traded. I don't know if he will be traded at this moment, but he wants to be traded. They drafted Kelvin Banks, but other than that, Chaliz Fuaga, still pretty good offensive line. They're building some remnants there, something to build around, but this is an older team. They're not going to be pretty good, at least in my mind, going into next season. This should be one of the easier games for the Bears to pick up in the later part of the schedule. But like I said, no game is a give me. We haven't beat the New Orleans Saints in a while. Hopefully that changes this year, as this is probably the weakest New Orleans Saints team we've faced in a while. So 12 o'clock, week 7, we'll be taking on the New Orleans Saints. Moving right along, in week 8, we will be taking on the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore at 12 o'clock CBS. This is probably one of the hardest games that you could possibly get on the schedule. Baltimore, they're Baltimore. Dominant run game with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry will be in Baltimore. They're getting Zay Flowers back next year. They signed DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know if he was there last season or not. Mark Andrews, still a very good tight end despite what he did in the playoff game. Still got a pretty good offensive line. They did some really good moves on their defense as well. Adding a really, really good safety in Malachi Starks in the draft, along with Kyle Hamilton. They got some pretty good pass rushers as well. This will be a true test for the Chicago Bears late in the season. And we'll be in Baltimore. Not many teams go up to Baltimore and beat the Ravens in Baltimore. I really don't have them winning this game, but hopefully they can stay competitive. But this is a contending team you're going up against in week 8. I'm not going to hold it too much against them if they lose. Baltimore is a really, really tough team to beat. But if you're going to beat them, you're going to have to find a way to contain Lamar Jackson. But that's a really, really difficult game on the schedule. So week 8, we will be taking on the Baltimore Ravens, 12 o'clock on CBS. In week 9, we will stay in the AFC North. We will be taking on the Cincinnati Bengals at 12 o'clock p.m. CBS. And that's, a common theme this year. We'll be taking on the entirety of the AFC North and the NFC East this year. So those are the two divisions that we will be facing in full, along with our own division, of course. But the Cincinnati Bengals, that's not an easy win either. That will kick off a little bit of a, 2-game road trip against the AFC North. Cincinnati is still one of the better teams in the AFC North. They came on late last year, just missed the playoffs, I think, last year. Still got Joe Burrow. They re-upped on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Offensive line can be a little bit iffy with them. I still think their defense is a little bit below average as well. Don't know what's going on with Trey Hendrickson. Hopefully he's able to re-up with them. If not, hopefully the Bears are able to get him in some type of trade. But Trey Hendrickson has made it known that he's probably not going to play without a contract extension. The Cincinnati Bengals, unlike the Baltimore Ravens, do not have the strongest run game, but their pass game is just as deadly, if not more deadly than any team in the NFL with those two guys there. This will not be an easy win. We'll be in Cincinnati as well. But main thing you got to do against the Cincinnati Bengals is put pressure on the defense and put pressure on Joe Burrow. Hopefully Dennis Allen can draw up a scheme to slow down Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I don't expect it, but this is why you went out and hired these guys. But we'll be facing the Cincinnati Bengals in week 9. Hopefully the Bears can pick up a win in that game, because the next game should be pretty easy for them, well, relatively speaking. So moving on to week 10, we come back home to take on the New York I Don't Know What I'm Doing Giants at 12 p.m. on Fox. I just don't know what to say about the Giants this year. It's just, I don't know, man. The Giants should probably be one of our easier wins in this division. I don't know who their running back is. They got all these talented young receivers, but nobody to throw them the ball. They went out and got Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Plus, they drafted a quarterback in Jackson Dart. Plus, they have a 4th-string quarterback in Tommy DeVito who started games. Somebody is going to have to go. I think Jameis Winston might be the odd man out here. They're not going to cut Jackson Dart and Tommy DeVito is probably a fan favorite there. But this should be one of the easier games in the schedule. I know they made some good moves in the offseason. They went out and drafted Abdul Carter, which is really, really good for them, as their pass rush is probably going to be deadly. But if you ask me, I'm not really feeling the Giants this year. They're probably one of the worst teams in their own division, if not the worst team in the division in the NFC East. So this should probably be a game the Bears should win. They got an overflow of pass rushers everywhere though, so that will probably be the hardest thing about this team. But if Russell Wilson is starting, the main thing you want to make him do is make plays. They're probably not going to be able to run the ball as well. They did draft Cam Scatterboy, so that's interesting. I'll be looking forward to seeing him play. But this Giants team, you should beat this Giants team, man. This should be no challenge for the Chicago Bears. Hopefully they can get a win here, because I think their next game is a little bit harder. So now we've reached the midway point of the season, basically, and this is where it's going to start getting a little bit more crucial that the Bears start winning games late in season if they want to contend, at least for the playoffs. But in Week 11, we will be taking on the Minnesota Vikings again. This time, we will be in Minnesota. It will be at 12 o'clock p.m. on Fox. Like I said in the first game, you're gonna see this team the first game of the season. So hopefully you have, if you didn't win that game in Week 1, hopefully you have a better, understanding of what the Minnesota Vikings like to do. Like I said, dominant receiving core. They added to it, good offensive line. Hopefully we'll know what J.J. McCarthy is late in the season. But this is just the classic divisional matchup that you're going to have in Week 11. Great defense. You're going to have to counteract that as well. We haven't won in Minnesota in a long time. I don't think we've beat Minnesota in a long time, so it's about time that the Bears get a couple wins against these teams. But Week 11, divisional matchups are always tough, and around this part of the schedule, you're going to start jockeying for position in the division and in the NFC. So hopefully the Bears can pick up a win in Week 11, as playing against the Minnesota Vikings is never an easy game. And division rivals always come to play, so hopefully they can pick up a win in Week 11. And so continuing on, in Week 12, we will be back here in Chicago, taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers at 12 o'clock on CBS. Again, continuing the theme of facing the AFC North this year, we'll face that entire division. Pittsburgh, what can you say about Pittsburgh? They don't have a quarterback right now. As of this moment, their quarterback is Mason Rudolph. Second string will be Will Howard. Some moves they made that I liked, others don't really understand. Why they traded George Pickens, I will never know, after adding DK Metcalf in the offseason. But I really like the move of adding Derek Harmon in the draft. Along with that defense, they'll still have TJ Watt, Cameron Hayward. They got a pretty good defense. They added Darius Slay as well to go along with that secondary, a secondary that really struggled. Also added Jack Sawyer in the second or third round, I think, just to back up Alex Highsmith. This is a team that, while they don't have the best quarterback in the world, somehow the Pittsburgh Steelers always find a way to win games and always go 9-8. We have not beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in a while. I don't even think we played the Pittsburgh Steelers in a while since Justin Fields' rookie year. In a game that the Pittsburgh Steelers and the referee cheated us in that game as we were on our way to winning. Don't think I forgot about that. But hopefully we can pick up a win finally against this Pittsburgh Steelers team. We'll be at home this time, so hopefully no funny business will happen. And on top of that, if there is funny business happening in this Week 12 matchup, the fans will let the refs hear about it. I'm still salty about that loss, so hopefully we can avenge that loss from 3 years ago against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But not an easy win. Great defense, and with good coaching, with Mike Tomlin and all that stuff, they'll always be a tough game to win against. But hopefully we can pick up a win in Week 12, as that's definitely one of the more important games on the schedule. All right, moving on to Week 13, and this is probably the biggest one on the schedule and probably the most difficult. We will be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles on Black Friday, 2 p.m. on Amazon Prime Video. Yes, the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. We will be facing them in Week 13. This will be the hardest game on the schedule, in my opinion. This team was just in the Super Bowl. Saquon Barkley is known to be a Bears killer. We haven't played the Eagles since Justin Fields' second year. We looked pretty good against them in that game where we did end up losing. They just had too much. They got A.J. Brown. They got Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, good offensive line, good defense that they just keep adding to year after year after year. This team was just in the Super Bowl, man, and it's going to take a whole effort from all four facets of the game: offense, defense, special teams, and coaching. They got to be ready to coach this game. They got to be ready to play this game to the best of their ability, because it's not going to be easy to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, teams that come off a Super Bowl don't look as dominant as they did the previous season, but talent shines through, man. This Philadelphia Eagles team has really good talent on it. Will be in a primetime game, basically, so the whole country will probably be watching this game on Prime Video. It's going to be an exciting game if the Bears are good. We haven't beat the Philadelphia Eagles in a while either, so I think we're about due for one. So 2 p.m. on Black Friday, make sure you guys get there. It's on Amazon Prime Video. We will be in Philadelphia, so tough game. Coming off facing the Pittsburgh Steelers, that'll probably be two of the toughest games we have this season. Slaughterhouse continues in Week 14 when we take on the Green Bay Packers. This time, we'll be in Green Bay first this season at 12 o'clock p.m. I don't think that game is going to stay at 12 o'clock p.m., especially if the Bears are good. They already have a flex game, 2 flex games that we might see with Green Bay and Detroit later in the season. So this might be the one that may stay at 12 o'clock, but we'll see. But of course, Green Bay, division rival, hated rival. We beat them late last season, so they feel a certain type of way about that. They're still a pretty good team. Josh Jacobs, they added Matthew Golden in the draft, still got Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed, Christian Watson. They added Mecole Hardman in the offseason. Good tight end combo with Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. Offensive line, they went out and got Aaron Banks. Still got a pretty good defense, while the secondary is probably not all that great, especially at cornerback. But these games are always tough. We've always figured out a way to keep these games close as possible. And against the Green Bay Packers, we ended up beating them in Green Bay last year, and we almost beat them at Soldier Field. If it had not been for the blocked field goal and some coaching blunders, we would have swept this Green Bay team last year. And hopefully, the ongoing rivalry with Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur, that's going to add a bit of excitement to this game as well. So I'm looking forward to these Green Bay games, as these are probably the most important, because for a new coach coming into Chicago, you always want to find a way to beat the Green Bay Packers. And if Ben Johnson knows how to do one thing, he knows how to beat the Green Bay Packers. So, hopefully we get the win in Week 14 against this Packers squad in Lambeau, so we can come back at Soldier Field and beat them again. Hopefully we can establish ourselves as the rightful rulers of Lambeau Field this year and kind of flip this series on its head again, as the Bears are long due to flip the series and get ahead in this series as well. So hopefully we can pick up a win in Week 14. So the Slaughterhouse continues in Week 15. We will be taking on the Cleveland Browns at home at 12 o'clock p.m. On Fox. Last time we faced this Cleveland Browns team, whole bunch of coaching decisions cost us that game. This is a Cleveland team that's very, very polarizing. They got some decent talent on the team. We have no idea who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Some people think it's going to be Deshaun Watson if he's able to play. Some people think it's going to be Joe Flacco. They got Kenny Pickett. They got Dylan Gabriel. For some reason, ESPN did not list Shedeur Sanders at all on here, but Shedeur Sanders is also on the team as well, and I think he probably will be starting. They added Quinshawn Judkins. They added Dylan Sampson to replace Nick Chubb. They got Jerry Jeudy out there. They went out and signed Deontay Johnson. David Njoku should be back. Still pretty good offensive line. Still pretty good defensive line as well, as they added Mason Graham in the offseason as well in the draft. They re-upped on Myles Garrett. Still pretty good secondary as well. This will be one of the tougher games on the schedule, as we can never seem to play well against the Cleveland Browns. And even when we do, coaching decisions have basically stuck a nail in the coffin for us. I can never forget that rookie year with Justin Fields getting absolutely obliterated by the Cleveland Browns. Same thing happened later in his career here with the Cleveland Browns. Just bad coaching decisions cost them that game, as they had the Browns dead to rights in that game as well. But this is the part of the schedule that you're going to have to start winning some of these games. It doesn't get no easier, but hopefully we can pick up a win against this Cleveland Browns team, as we haven't beat them in a while either. So let's see if they can pick up a win in that game. And as I was saying earlier, in Week 16, we'll have another matchup with Green Bay. This time we'll be at Soldier Field. Now, with this, there's no time for this game as of this moment. This will probably be one of the flex games that will probably happen. So this game could either be at 12 o'clock, it could be at 3 o'clock, or they could probably even stretch it into Sunday Night Football, as I don't think we have a Sunday Night Football game this year as of this moment, as of this recording. But of course, if the Bears are good and Green Bay is good, these tickets will sell like hotcakes, especially late into the season, because in Week 16, this is when you're going to start jockeying for position to try to get into the wild card or the playoffs or whatever Green Bay and Chicago are doing at this part of the schedule. Hopefully, the Bears are able to come back to Soldier Field with a win, and then get another win with this Green Bay team and sweep this Green Bay team for good this season. But this is probably going to be one of the games that are probably going to get flexed. It's scheduled for Fox, but it probably will be moved into a later slot. It probably most likely will be moved into a 325 spot. But yeah, Green Bay, we already know the story with Green Bay. We got to figure out a way to beat them every single time. Good defense, good offense. What does Green Bay not do well? But hopefully the Bears will be good this season. And, with this coaching staff, the way Ben Johnson likes to coach against teams in his division, this should be a game they could win. And I'm really looking forward to watching these Green Bay games, as there's bad blood there. But around this part of the schedule, you're really going to be fighting for positioning. So hopefully they can pick up a win at Soldier Field and send the fans home happy that night, or that day or whatever, because their next game is probably going to be more difficult than Green Bay. And as I was saying that, remember I said this game would probably be harder? Well, in Week 17, one game before the season finale, we will be taking on the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco in the Sunday Night Football matchup. I said we didn't have a Sunday Night Football matchup in the last segment. I was wrong. We'll be facing them at 7:20 p.m. in San Francisco. And the last time we faced the San Francisco team was last year. It did not go well at all. The San Francisco 49ers blew us out. It was not competitive at all. Caleb Williams struggled mightily in that game. Hopefully, they can pick up a win here with a different coaching staff. This should be one of the more intriguing matchups on the schedule, as two great offensive minds like Kyle Shanahan and Ben Johnson going against each other is always going to sell. This team hasn't gotten any worse. Even though they lost Deebo Samuel, they still got Brandon Ayuk. They still got Christian McCaffrey. Juwan Jennings has grown into his own. I'm really excited to see how Ricky Pearsall looks. George Kittle's still there. They still got Kyle Juszczyk. Trent Williams still got a really decent offensive line. But, they can work with basically anything down there in San Francisco. Defense is still there as well. So this will not be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. This will be a Sunday Night Football matchup. I don't think we've won a Sunday Night Football matchup in a while either, so the Bears are due for one. They re-upped on Brock Purdy as well, making him giving him his extra moolah this offseason. But, Sunday Night Football game against San Francisco. We haven't beat San Francisco in a while either. And we've struggled with them these past few years, especially last year. They absolutely blew us out. Hopefully the Bears are looking for a little bit of revenge this season, as this will be one of the most important games on the schedule as well. Like I said, when you get late into the season, you're going to start jockeying for position in playoff position and playoff standings. Hopefully the Bears are good enough to do that. But nonetheless, this will be the only Sunday Night Football game that the Bears will have. and this will be probably the final primetime game that they have in this season as well. So looking forward to that game in week 17. And finally, to end the season, to end the 2025 season for the Chicago Bears, we will be taking on the Detroit Lions in Soldier Field for the final game of the season. This game is still to be determined, as this is the flex game for the Chicago Bears. This will probably, if the Bears are in playoff contention or if they're good this season, this will probably be a game that will probably be scheduled for around 325. I don't think that this game will be scheduled any later than 325 or any earlier. This game feels perfect, a perfect ending to the season. Detroit will be coming here to face their hated nemesis now, the Chicago Bears. They've convinced themselves that we are their biggest rival. We got, again, the Ben Johnson stuff happened in the offseason. But around this time, it should already be considered what the Bears are going to be doing. If they're going to be playing football in the postseason or they're going to be sitting at home. Again, always want to beat your divisional matchups as much as possible. They will always be difficult. We know what the Detroit Lions bring to the table. I don't think they're going to be taking too much of a step back, even while losing their coaching staff. So I'm excited for this game as well. This will be the final game of the season. And it'll be at Soldier Field. Hopefully they can send the fans home happy and sweep this matchup, as well as Detroit has been talking a lot of crap in the offseason, and it would make me none happier than to stick it to them, just like we can stick it to Green Bay. So week 18 we will be facing the Detroit Lions at Soldier Field, while the time is still to be determined and network is still to be determined. So that will end our season, man. All right, that is the entirety of the Chicago Bears schedule for the 2025 NFL season. And the common theme with the schedule is that the Bears are probably one of the highly sought out teams to watch this upcoming season. They have a lot of primetime games, a lot of good matchups, some rematches on that schedule as well. This is a team that the NFL and the NFL fandom wants to see. And finally, it finally feels like the Bears are starting to get a little bit more positive press to them, even though, some articles have come out recently about Caleb Williams and everything. But the Bears have been making moves to at least try to get better, and you can't really fault them for doing so. This is a team that's going to be highly regarded going into the season, adding names like Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen, and then they did a revamp of the offensive line. They got good talent at their skill positions, still got a pretty decent defense, upgrading in certain positions and re-upping on certain positions as well. This schedule is brutal. It's the second hardest schedule in the National Football League, next to the New York Giants. So this will not be easy at all, but true good teams play these teams on their schedule and they beat these teams. So if the Bears are as good as people are making them out to be and are as hyped as people are making them out to be, these should be games that a lot of these games they should be able to win, as that's the mark of a good team. It's going to be up and downs coming this season, and not everything is going to click. You're going to be losing some games. You're going to get shocked in some games. But hopefully the Bears can manage that and be able to compete for a playoff spot, hopefully a wild card spot this upcoming year. A lot of people have the Bears making the playoffs, and they're excited to watch this team, so am I. But yeah, man, tough schedule. We do have preseason games as well. We'll be playing Miami, Buffalo, and of course Kansas City in the preseason. So yeah, later in the year. So yeah, tough schedule. Hopefully the Bears can manage it. I'm excited for this year. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. How do you guys feel about the Bears schedule? What's your win-loss record going into the season for the Chicago Bears? I don't have one yet. I'm gonna have to look at the schedule a little bit more and get past training camp to see the rosters finalized, who's making the roster, see if they make any more moves before I give a win-loss record. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the schedule. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I drop one of these Chicago Bears video. I'm going to be doing more of these videos as well, so I'm going to go over a couple more team schedules for the 2025 NFL season. Hopefully I'll be able to do a standings video as well to see which team will win which division. So try to hit that notification bell, as I'll probably be uploading those soon if I can find the time to get them recorded. So be looking out for that. Make sure you guys follow me on social media there's bound to be stuff about the NFL and Chicago Bears going around Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. So make sure you guys follow me on there. But yeah, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Bear down, and I'm out. Peace.